What up? Welcome back to the podcast. I feel like I haven't seen you on camera in a minute, but yeah, it is me, everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Don Don, joined by my favorite co-host and good brother, Qualls, aka
Mr. Qualifier. How y'all doing?
there we go. Um, how you doing, man? What's up?
Oh, it's been a while. Like I said, it's been ages since we've been on camera. But I don't know. I like this. I don't know. It's a new setup for me. So I
Yeah, I
don't
was gonna say you got a new set design.
yeah, new set design. We moved locations. We got a new set, but a new studio. But
Nigga, we we got a budget.
look, the budget definitely increased just a smidge, just a tank, as our good
Mhm.
boy would say, just a tank, just a small
Just a
tank.
tank.
But yeah, but no, it's been a while. I've missed this. I recorded the first episode of The Right Quality this past week, and that was the first time we recorded in about a month or so. And I was just sitting, I was like, man, I missed recording. Like had to get my life together for a minute. Not together, but I just had to slow down for a bit. But yeah, whole thing. But yeah, no, other than that, man, things have been good. A lot of adjustment and transition, but all good, all in the right direction, all positive reinforcements, if you will. So I can't complain too much, man. What about you?
Um, so much we don't have to get into today. All things good though. All things good. September was supposed to be my month of like me and no travel. I ended up filling it with other people that traveled here. So I mean, it is what it is. But no, I've been on the road every month this year except what I said, January, soon to be December, and would have been September. So I just been on the go, and I've not traveled this much ever, work or personal. So just feeling like kind of spread thin a little bit, but in the sense of I'm always doing something. Everything that I'm doing is manageable, but we getting a little older now, so like the fun travel ain't what it used to be because you got to prep to travel, and then I be gone for a week, and then you want to come back and decompress, and that take about a week. And once that's over, you like, damn, I got another trip coming. So yeah, I want the slower pace for my life
Mm.
now.
Yeah, I've accepted the slower pace for the rest of the year. So I've just accepted that. Yeah, the rest of 2024, which is perfectly fine with me. I don't mind keeping my head down, locking in, trying to build some personal momentum because the next 2 years are probably gonna be busy for me as far as travel. There are for sure two weddings that I know I will be at and be in, and potentially both of them could be in 2025, still to be determined. But if not, they will more than likely fall within the same 12-month span. So yeah, I'm preparing for that now.
Same, actually. I have, I mean, assuming that I'm getting invitations. There are two weddings that I'm aware of. One frat brother that yes,
Yes.
we are probably talking about. And then another is just my another friend. Whoop, not trying to reveal no surprises. Um, but yeah, those will most likely be within the next year and a half. So it's another season of love.
Yeah, nonetheless, I'm not upset about this slow pace though. Like I said, I want to enjoy that. I want to take that time to really, I won't say reprioritize, you know what I mean, but I think just getting into this space where certain things matter a little bit more than they used to, certain things don't matter as much as they used to. So kind of recalibrating to figure out what life looks like as those priorities kind of change. So sometimes that takes some time, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool. I'm cool with getting that out on the whiteboard and figuring out, what to do next. But yeah,
The
yeah,
slow pace is not bad. And as my shirt says, I'm surrounded by idiots. So the slower that I can move without them and around them, the better. So I just want peace in my life.
I feel that. I feel that. Speaking of peace, as I feel like this relates to our topic for today, the main thing we are checking in on today is cancel culture. Now, granted, this was one of the first things I thought would be good for us to talk about on any episode, but I don't know. 2024 just seems like it seems like the epitome of cancel culture this year. I feel like, well, when do you feel like cancel culture like kind of made its first appearance? I feel like maybe like 5 to 6 ish years ago, we started hearing the term, at least for me. I don't know if it was around earlier or called something different earlier, but I feel like cancel culture kind of entered society and maybe just our community, the Black community, as a term in like the last 5 or 6 years. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, because that's a credible source, the term cancel culture came into circulation in the late 2010s and early 2020s. That don't even sound right to say out loud. Um, yeah, so if we saying around then, probably picked up pre-pandemic, and then when everybody got into the pandemic for real, it was like we have nothing else to do but be super glued to other people's lives that are not ours.
You know what I think started it whole time,
What?
at least in the Black community. I think Surviving R. Kelly started all of this. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So what year was that?
I think that was 2019. Might have been 20, it might be 2018, but I think 2019, like the top of 2019, potentially. I don't remember the exact dates. It's somewhere in there. It's somewhere in there. Definitely,
2019.
yeah. I think that's where I think that's where it started, at least for us. But that, I mean, we don't gotta touch too much on Robert. But
He's
can't
touched on enough.
he's done enough. But I think, but see, that's the thing. I think about, well, before we dive too deep into that, how would you personally define cancel culture? If you even have a definition for it. I know you may not care enough. You probably don't. But if you were to define it, what would you define it as?
Yeah, you're right. I really don't care enough because I don't necessarily believe in cancel culture. I gotta we'll talk about that later. But cancel culture is essentially the writing off or of somebody or somebody's based on their negative actions. And you just say, nope, we're never supporting, I'm never doing anything else with, say, a person because they've done this negative one, two, three thing. I think people fall into cancel culture and run with it when some of it should be nuanced. I'm not excusing any behavior from anybody, but I don't think that you should immediately write somebody off for the current sins or previous sins that they have committed. That's a hot take, but I would say that's my definition of cancel culture.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't the idea of canceling in and of itself is I don't want to say it's weird because I don't want to take away the the validation of the feelings toward actions that other people have done that people do not agree with. Like you have the right to not agree with those actions. But when we're talking about canceling, it's this idea of who and I guess I get it because, but also what I don't like in a way is I feel like cancel culture is almost solely in relation to celebrities because the idea of canceling them is supposed to take away some type of power or privilege or benefit that they are receiving by being a celebrity or what in whatever industry that is. And so even when you think about music artists, since that seems to kind of have been they're the main subjects of cancel culture for the most part, at least in our community. Um, you know, then it becomes that conversation of, okay, well, do you separate, the music, from the person, or are we just not listening to their music because any support of their music is support of them and still giving them money. And if we take away that, that is supposed to have this impact wherein cancel culture becomes relevant. I I'm not saying I completely, you know, I'm not saying I don't understand the logic, but I don't necessarily understand the idea of its effectiveness. Or I don't know if I wholeheartedly agree with how it is seen to be effective, if that makes sense.
Well, because it's not effective. Like,
Right.
it's not effective to say like, oh, you had Chris Brown, for example, and I am not condoning domestic violence by any stretch of the imagination. But Chris Brown beat the shit out of Rihanna, and we saw the proof of it, right? He did. I mean, let's be real, right?
It's the way you set it up because I was not expecting you to say beat the shit out of her.
Well, I mean, we saw the pictures. It
But
was,
this
I
is
mean,
true. Dude, the evidence.
Oprah validated it. It was, I mean, it was not good.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And you know, he's still out here on tour doing his one, two, three steps and all of that stuff, and people are still supporting him. I still want to use my hard-earned money and see him in concert because I would like to see him as a performer on stage. I am not saying that by buying this ticket that I support him beating women, right? But people in cancel culture say, "Oh no, I could never support him again because of what he did." Well, your cousin also beats the shit out of women, and you seem to invite them over for dinner all the time. So, like, I think cancel culture should open up the conversation for accountability. But for me to say, oh no, and everybody can make their own decisions, but for me to say like, oh no, I'm not supporting you and doing this and da 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 da. That's how they make their livelihood performing, right? That they make their livelihood through music. So now because they have, you know, hopefully been held accountable for their actions and whatever that may be, that's different for everybody. But whatever level of accountability that Chris Brown has been held to, I think that people can learn, grow, evolve, and change, and hopefully understand the error of their previous ways, which I don't think cancel culture allows people to do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like, so now what is he supposed to do? Oh no, I hit Rihanna in the face. Now she's bruised, and now it's been all of this other stuff. So I'm never gonna work again. I mean, unless he's in jail, right? Barring prison. So what is he supposed to do? Do you want him just to be like a Forex trader or something? Like he still got to make a living. I don't think if he, as long as he don't perpetuate it in his music and make new songs about what he did and glorify that, then I think cancel culture could ease up a bit.
That's real. So to that last point specifically, do you think that's the problem that people have with Robert? The topic of it being perpetuated in the music.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
'Cause
I feel like in my heart of hearts, and I'm a rock for a Chicago person, like almost to a fault. I am not putting my neck out on the line for Sir Robert Kelly in that regard. But yeah, we was vibing to his music and his songs and singing them out loud, even to the point where we were too young to realize what we were singing about. But now we understand what he was singing about, and we like, oh, I'm not gonna spend my hard-earned money to see you in concert because you haven't learned anything. You still, even, oh, these are the classics of the 90s. Yeah, but think about what you're singing about. Like, age ain't nothing but a number. As consenting adults, age ain't nothing but a number because at some point everybody's grown. But when you marry a 15-year-old, however old Aaliyah was at the time and all of that fiasco, age is a number and it should be listened to, buddy.
it definitely should be listened to. And honestly, this just gives 12 play, a whole new meaning because this is sick work and diabolical work by Sir Robert Kelly. And all I can think about now is that concert he did that was not in America, where he was telling them girls to get their passport to go to.
Like, that's wild.
This man
Yeah,
is sick.
cancel his ass. And the crazy part is, in like fifth grade, we sang The World's Greatest or whatever the name song is, right?
Between the world's
So
greatest and I believe I can fly, he tried to save himself in the black community.
so many graduation songs. I believe I can fly. And what he was trying to do was fly out the country and avoid all of these charges. We didn't know that though.
No, this yeah, it's pretty terrible. It's pretty bad. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like that cancel culture has felt and became like a trend. Like that's what I don't like about it because it just seems like the trendy thing to do, the in thing to do to be like, oh, this person did something. Um, oh, this person did something that we don't agree with, so we're canceling them. And I mean, it's tough because there's an aspect of like when we're talking about music artists, at least like their careers, where it's like y'all. I don't want to say people are taking it too far, but I think this idea that, like you said, people can run with it and they can get enough like momentum to really affect people when in essence, which also is crazy because then you think about the people who are not canceled, who could be by the standards of what cancel culture is supposed to be. And it's like, well, how are we making these decisions now? How are we choosing who gets canceled and who doesn't? What's acceptable? What's not? What's a good level of accountability and what isn't? We aren't. I just don't feel like we're the judge and jury for that. As fans, as people, we just have the luxury of their lives, celebrities, being us having more access to it now. And now we have more platforms to have opinions on it. And that's the reason that these things kind of pick up steam. So, I'm trying to be, cautious of not saying it's unfair because I don't want to take away from there being things that could be being done that aren't right or, people don't agree with, but just seems like a real slippery slope that we should stay off of. I just feel like all of us as regular people, we should stay off of the slippery slope.
Speaking of slippery slope, there's another celebrity that needs to be canceled right now. But
Hey, that's great. That's a great say. Hey, that's a great segue. That's a great segue.
because Johnson and Johnson is on display. Baby, let me tell you what is going on.
No wonder they went out of business. No wonder.
Like before we get into the mud of him, my issue with cancel culture is that it doesn't allow for rehabilitation.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Like I'm canceling you and what? No, you've never existed to me. And it's just like, no, we have to, I think, within reason, extend grace for people to learn from their mistakes because they made them, right? So it is possible that they don't believe that they are making mistakes. When you were presented with, hey, this was wrong, this is why you fucked up. What are you going to do from here? If they double down on it, Robert, in that interview, right? That which, maybe there's no rehabilitation for you, my
No,
guy.
that's
But
not.
I think some people are just so quick to cancel, and people rely on groupthink, I think, far too much because somebody else said like, oh, I'm not going to support Qualls. Now, oh, I'm not going to support him either. You don't even know why. You just running because you see other people running.
Yeah. Yeah. And I the group thing piece is huge. And I think probably one of the better displays of groupthink and how it can really split a community probably was the Megan and Tory situation. And not that I'm not saying there's not a wrong side, and I'm not condoning the shooting of anybody, first and foremost, let alone the shooting of a black woman. But I just feel like what we saw, especially before more details came out, um,
Mhm.
was kind of that group thing. And it's not to say, let me be very, very clear. This is not me saying that, black women in particular should have to jump through hoops for people to believe them. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is if we are talking about like a legal case, like there can be things at play that have nothing to do with wanting to support black women. There can just be legal findings that have to be honored in the sense of a legal case if you're going to say somebody is guilty or not guilty. The way that groupthink kind of took over that entire situation, and that's not even me saying that Tory deserved something different from the standpoint of support or from the standpoint of whatever. But it also was really interesting to see how many people their reason for believing or supporting in Tory was solely in this weird way of not liking Meg. And I think that's where, like you said, whether it's that group thing or whether it's just this idea of, people trying to, abuse the power that their opinion can have, given that we have the platforms to express them now. I just don't think it's getting us anywhere. But
Mhm.
that also made me think, why do you feel like us as a black community versus like the non-melanated community, let's say, or other communities, do you feel like cancel culture exists, but it just looks different? Because I think that white people have like a cancel culture in the midst of their community. I just don't think the parameters are necessarily the same.
I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist because one, I'm not in that community to speak for it. And two, I haven't seen people, if we're talking specifically white celebrities, white community, I haven't seen them um divest from somebody. I've seen them super support, but I haven't seen them really pull back. And I think prime example, and I'm not trying to get political, you all can have y'all's own political views and parties, but former President Donald J. Trump has yet to be canceled. If
Yeah.
he was anybody else, color or money, if he was anybody else, he would have been canceled several times. You have several reasons to cancel him, from sexual assault allegations, from 34 felonies, from inciting erections allegedly, from all of these things. Let me had done that and I'd be the one. Who is Donald? Oh, I don't exist. Why? Because my ass been canceled. So I do think it looks very different because they now justify, they being the people within his community, justify his actions or try to excuse them or act like they don't exist. So I don't think that they have, I think they got like hater blockers when it comes to cancel culture. So
I think what's funny is I think their cancer culture, wow, their cancel culture
there you go.
comes in honestly. So the situation I'm thinking about is so when Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala, so did Caitlin Clark. And I don't know how much you've been keeping up with Caitlin Clark, but the white people love Caitlin Clark now. They love Caitlin Clark. She is the white messiah to them as far as sports go. But as soon as she essentially endorsed Kamala as well, um, a lot of angry fans, wanted to let her know how they thought she was diving too deep into politics and how she should focus on playing basketball and things of that nature. So I don't know if their cancel culture is based in, I don't know, people not believing in their way or people diverging from, kind of like that like hater block mentality. But that's kind of the only situations that I've seen it where they feel like, oh, you're doing a bit, too much, or you're leaning too much, this way. You're supposed to be ours, or you're supposed to stand for this. And so that's kind of the only, I guess, example that I've seen it in. But I guess in a way that's how it exists for them, or how I would say it exists for them.
But, and I say this and we can move on. I don't know that you have the answer to this, but with that example, both of those examples that you just gave, has it hurt Taylor Swift's pockets, sales, support? Has it hurt Caitlin's pockets, games, support? Probably not. But let that be Chris Brown, Trey Songz, Robert Kelly, um, Sean Puff Daddy, Diddy, Diddler, Combs,
Yeah.
bad boy, baby. Can't stop, won't stop. Well, you should.
And this is also the problem with us. We don't take nothing serious
No,
at all. And it's
no.
the and granted, so I don't know if you've seen the discourse, like kind of like moving off the cancel culture and not focusing solely on the diddler. But this happens though. And granted, we talked about this or mentioned this previously, but like black people, like as a community, we laugh to get through our trauma. That's just a part
Hmm.
of what we do. Do you do you think it's something that we do you feel like we should take things like, I don't know, I feel like it's a tough question because it's not so much should we take things like that more seriously in regard to just understanding the severity of its nature ultimately and how many people could have genuinely been affected, or I mean it's just a us thing. Like I don't know how else to describe that, but like that is genuinely how we get through. Like we have to laugh about this because if you think about it, like what in the world is this? Like, why is this story coming out now? And why has it been happening for so long? But I think as you uncover more, like not even getting into like the specific details, but just thinking of people being at that height and being at that level and knowing that they have the power to do everything that is being alleged. And it's just like, this probably is something, low key that we should be, if not paying more attention to from the aspect of like nosiness and just wanting to know stuff, but just being aware that like things like this are happening. I don't know. I just we
I,
can't we can't help.
well, I think it's a two-part thing, right? I think that there's an understanding of the severity, but because people have the money, the capital, the power, the position to like make it go away. Cassie been saying her piece for a long time. Aubrey O'Day been trying to say like, Diddy ain't it, y'all, for years, right? Everyone's like, I don't know how long Danity Kane came out, but let's say 20 years. But we're not listening to them, and I just think uh, in the world in general, like we don't listen to victims or alleged victims as much as we should. Now that's a separate conversation. In that, once we find out the details of these things, we'd be like, "Yo, this is wild. Why do you even have 1,000 bottles of baby oil?" Of course, we gonna take a joke on that because that is the discourse within our community because that's how we talk about it. We talk about very serious things through a comical lens. Does it discredit what has happened? No, but it's just our trauma response. It's how we cope. It's how we make sense of the world. That's how I make sense of the world. But as a community, yeah. So now we're not even focusing on Cassie, Aubrey, and everybody else that, has been within these allegations or what has been found. But the one thing that we will take as a soundbite is all of that damn baby oil. And we're going to talk about that forever. And it's going to be the new Kente oil. Like that is going to be what happens.
Oh man, bring back Tyler Perry plays for sure. That's a completely different episode we'll have to have. The last thing I will say on all of this is who would have thought that Cat Williams would have been right, and at the beginning of 2024, he would have predicted almost everything that has happened in this calendar year. Who would have thought?
Mhm.
The same man that got beat up on Mizzou's campus in 2016
That's
is a is a world truth teller. Who would have knew? Who knew?
Listen, Shannon Sharp might be on to something because we had Cat Williams telling the truth. We had Monique telling the truth. We got to start listening. We can still laugh and make fun, but we got to start listening.
Definitely got to start listening and paying attention. Well, no, that's it, man. We ain't gonna go into too much more, but cancel culture in and of itself. I don't know, y'all have y'all feelings about it. Let us know y'all feelings about it. We pretty much explain where we stand on it, but it is something that doesn't seem like it's going to go away anytime soon, and more than likely will probably only get worse from the standpoint of the parameters and how people define it and how people exercise it, if you will. But yeah, feel good. It feels good to be back, man. Feels good to be back recording.
It does. This is a little shot of life right here. Like we have not done this in I feel like so long.
Yeah, shout of life, shout of Don Julio, same thing.
Yeah, I had a shot of that the other day, and my God, I was asleep by 8:30.
Chill with Mr. Julio, man. Mr. Julio don't play.
Whew.
But until then, and until next time, we'll catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.